Hey guys, it's Roderick. I'm here with a review of the Real Housewives of New Jersey, Season 13, Reunion Part 1. So if you're new to this channel, this is where we discuss television shows, films with an eye towards filmmaking, acting, and directing, all balled up with a little kiki. And for the next 2 weeks, you're going to get some reality television because this is one of my favorite reality television shows too. So let's get started. So I got a chance to watch this reunion 1.75 times because I missed the first 15 minutes of it last night, watched that, and then watched the other part when it came back on Peacocks and Can't Stand the Commercials. And so I was able to watch it again almost 2 times, which is good because I was able to solidify some of the things I was feeling in the first time I watched it and then really dive down and see some other stuff into it. So I'm not going to go into fashions because you know what? Typically these women all look good. Like they're rich, they have stylists or whatever. I will say the look I liked the best was Danielle's. I just thought that she looked really put together. I really liked that color on her. She was like, she got the A+, right? Like nobody failed. My least favorite look was Melissa's look. She got like the B-, okay? Like I see what she was going for with the jumpsuit, but the hair just didn't pop for me. There was no like super big jewelry that just kind of made me think like, oh wow, again. So again, everybody did really well or whatever. So let's get into this reunion because I got a few things to say, and this is going to be a long road for the next 2 weeks because I feel like the glasses may have to come out next episode, right? After watching the second time, I was like, okay, we ain't gonna pull the glasses out, but I think next week the glasses may come out because some folks may get red. So the first thing, you know, we talk about Teresa and the Dina not showing up to the wedding thing. Now, fortunately and unfortunately, a lot of these things reality television kind of play out in social media. So we already knew that the reason Dina did not want to be in the wedding wasn't because she didn't want to be on camera. It's because allegedly her and her husband are not welcome back in New Jersey and they were really fearful for their lives based upon the home invasion they had, right? So they're pretty much mud in New Jersey and they didn't want to come back into it. I think that being on camera is part of it, but I think that they're pretty much mud in New Jersey and they want to come back. I didn't really think that being was like a big thing, right? So then we get into first this Teresa Melissa segment. And Teresa really is coming in on 10. And one of the things I saw in this first part is Teresa is really buying into her own PR. She is really buying into, I've been here for 10 years, this is how it goes and whatever. And that's great. Like step into your truth as being an OG on this show. But the problem again with Teresa is that she has 0 to negative emotional intelligence, and she's not savvy enough to recognize is that pride comes before the fall, right? I hope Teresa has a happy life, a happy marriage, and she stays on this show for as long as she wants to stay on this show. But the fact is you can't really flex being on somebody else's platform, right? So I was like, okay, girl, do you, but you know, things go. So they start the thing and, you know, and the other thing is like they just really start going back and forth, right? And first of all, Danielle starts jumping in because she's very thirsty to be on Team Teresa, right? And I was like, girl, you know, like you could totally tell like how Danielle and Jennifer Aiden were like all chirping in. And I was like, nobody's talking to you. And I got very annoyed at Dolores' kind of hemming and hawing at her faces because again, that would be the part for you to be like, ooh, girl, no. Okay, Teresa, maybe not. Like, we'll get to a part where she kind of was like, ooh, I didn't think so. But I now looking at Dolores through the lens of a Teresa enabler, just kind of leaves a little taste in my mouth that I don't like, right? So they do their first little skirmishes, shots are fired, which pretty much sets up how the most reunion is going to go. So then we get on Dolores, right? Which, if you watch my reviews, Dolores has been pretty much the MVP of this season. I've liked what she's brought. I thought that, you know, her creating boundaries with Frank, I thought was a very good thing to show because I think a lot of people in life don't know how to create boundaries in their life. I thought that the way she articulated why she was creating boundaries with Frank was very thoughtful and very emotionally intelligent. You know, and I know a lot of people didn't like Dolores' storyline because she really didn't bring anything. And I think that is because, and we'll get to who the co-conspirators are in this show, right? Because the truth is, we now find out at the reunion that Paulie is not divorced. Why are we finding out at the reunion that Paulie is not divorced? Why was that not discussed on any other the other 13 episodes, right? And I fault production on that. I do not believe that Andy Cohen did not know that Paulie was not divorced and he just found out at the reunion. I don't believe that, right? I believe, and this is one of the biggest problems I think across the franchises now with the Real Housewives, is that the talent is trying to act like producers. If you are getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, some millions of dollars, like Teresa, there should be nothing that should be off limits to your life, right? And I really think the new iteration of what production should start doing is start putting cameras in people's homes like Big Brother. Start putting cameras and microphones in people's homes. And that way you can get all the coverage. That way you can get all the footage. Because I don't understand how we have go through 13 seasons, Paulie, you know, he's sick, he got this, he got whatever. I'm not doubting the man was sick. But I also doubt the fact that he also did not show up on camera that often because they did not want this to come out. And I do not believe that if this is going to be a quasi-scripted series where some is true and some is fact, tell us that in the beginning. But don't act like this is a reality television show and we find out huge plot points during the reunion. The fact that Paulie is not divorced is a huge reveal that should not have been revealed, that we shouldn't have found out at the reunion. Because I'm sure there was conversations. I want to hear Dolores' conversation about when you're going to do the divorce. Why aren't you divorced? Bop, 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 boop. That is interesting to me. That is interesting to Dolores. That is why Dolores is on the show. Dolores may feel like that is personal, that is private. Paulie doesn't want that exposed. I completely understand that. They don't be on the show. And I'm tired of people getting, especially these housewives, getting on reality television, wanting to just kind of flex and be quasi-famous, but not bring their entire lives to the show, right? And then they want to kind of pick and choose between what's going to be revealed, what's not going to be revealed, but you're still going to get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do what? To go out to lunch, to have bullshit ass fights. Like, no, that's not what this is. And I fault the housewives and I fault production, right? Because the production really has kind of think that they found this formula of kind of having this kind of like quasi docu-series, whatever, and it's becoming very transparent that these women are not showing up and showing us their real lives, right? So I was just like, so that very much annoyed me, and I was just really much kind of downgraded kind of a lot of the accolades I gave Delores, because that's something that should have been brought up. Even if not in the confessional, when they had the whole scene, right, with Paulie and with Paulie and Frank at the dinner, right? Why didn't the children be like, how's that going to happen when you're not divorced? Because the children were told, don't bring up Paulie not being divorced on camera, right? Why didn't Frank? I want to know if Frank knew about this. When Frank comes out, I want to know if Frank knew he wasn't divorced. Because if they all knew that he was not divorced and did not say it on camera, I'm calling foul on this show, right? Because then what are we watching, right? What are we really watching if it's not real, if it's not authentic? Or are we just watching a bunch of Pinocchio, marionette, kabuki theater all over the television? Then we get to Danielle. And I have to say, I've now come to the realization that Danielle is playing the dog fuck out of us, right? I've now come to the realization that Danielle is really doing her reality television version of All About Eve. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Fantastic movie with Bette Davis. So here's the thing. So Danielle's segment starts, right? And she has not spoken to her brother in 3 years. He sent the present back to her when the daughter was born. And at no point does Amy Cohen say, why have you not visited him? Why have your parents tried to call him? Have you tried to email him? What effort have you done to try to see him, right? This is what I've been saying all episode long. Why has you not done it? And we now know the answer. Because if this was the brother's favorite show, Danielle's she's pretty much setting the stage for her brother to be on the show, for them to work through their problems, right? next season or the season after that, right? And I think that she's been playing us the entire time, and that maybe that the rumors that she really is coming after Teresa's crown may actually be true, right? So, which would be a key to me, because I just think that Teresa's just gotten way too comfortable on this show. But Danielle really has been playing us, because I'm like, okay, you're going to see him tomorrow, wherever the day of the funeral was. Sorry for your loss. Are there going to be cameras there? Right? That would be something I think that Andy should have been like, oh, we'll send cameras. Where's the funeral? Where's it at? Blah, 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 boo. Nothing. Because production and these women have just gotten so lazy in this kind of synthetic formula of docuseries, reality television. I'd have been like, where's the cameras? Where's it going to be at? Fine, we won't show up to the feud. We'll be at the repast. There'll be a party. There'll be something. We want to get footage of you and your brother, either you attempting to interact with your brother, or you and your brother interacting, right? That would be something that we would think that for the hundreds of thousands of dollars that Danielle is being paid to be on this show, that we will want to see, as opposed to this BS ass fight that she had with Rachel Fuda. Now, when looking back at the footage, right, I can admit Rachel Fuda transmitted that conversation incorrectly, right? Because the way Rachel Fuda made the conversation to be, she made it seem like that Danielle said that Marge had an arsenal, right? When in fact Danielle said, we have been told that Marge has an arsenal, right? So when Rachel Fuda went back to tell the story, she accredited the arsenal comment to Danielle and not to the person who originally said it. Go back and watch my video on hearsay, legal hearsay, and regular hearsay. Think it's about episode 3, and I discussed this concept. We cannot introduce information from somebody when that person is not there to test the veracity of the statement. And that is exactly what happened. Now, do I think the fight got overblown? Absolutely. I think the crux of the fight, as Danielle alluded to, is when she says, I was happy because I was joining these crazy girls and doing this process with you. The subtext, if you watch some of other videos about scripted television, the subtext is the meaning under the statement. The subtext of what Danielle was saying was, I expected us to be neutral until we came to a decision as to whose side we were going to take. That is the subtext of what Danielle was saying, and that is what Danielle was upset about. Because pretty much it forced Danielle's hand to be on Team Teresa, because then she became anti-Marge. And I don't know what show Danielle is watching when Marge says you flipped on her like a pancake, because she did, right? Taking out the comment, right? The whole Melissa rumor, but Danielle was throwing a hissy fit at the party that nobody was blaming Marge, right? And notice, as we kind of sprinkle with that little prelude, notice how quick and immediately Teresa's like, I didn't have anything to do with that. I didn't have anything to do with that. When she is seen wholly on camera talking to Laura with Jennifer Aiden, right? So this has been Teresa's plan the entire season, for her to sit in front of Melissa's face and say that she has nothing to do with the Laura situation. She had nothing to do with the Laura rumor, when we all know that she had a conversation with Laura on camera that production intentionally did not air, and said voted to give Teresa protection so she could say, I did not know it. Production was not then there at Teresa's conversation with Joe. This is, again, to belie the culpability of the production and making these kind of synthetic BS-ass reality television shows. Because, again, you're not going to tell me that she couldn't get some cameras there or whatever like that to have that conversation with Joe. But I've already beat that horse to glue, and I'm sure we're going to come back and make some little, those little paper links with that glue I made when we get to this later. So anyway, then it takes Dolores to squash this beef with Danielle and Rachel Fuda, which I thought was a fantastic use of Dolores' presence, but also indicts Dolores as to why she has not done this with Melissa and Teresa. Why has she not attempted to do this? Remember in the last video I was saying, these are all the reasons why Dolores probably isn't doing it. We saw immediately Dolores squash that beef, facilitated that, mediated that out between them, and it was done, squashed, whatever. Keelan Rachel Fuda, I have not been giving her as much credit because I didn't like that whole custody situation, because you know how I felt about that. But she's a little bit sharper than the girls are giving her credit for. So I think we're going to have to watch Rachel Fuda next season, because I think that she really is a lot smarter than I think that she is A, letting on, and B, people are giving credit for. Because I think that she really came to play too. But my question is, Dolores, is why have you not done this or attempted to do this with Teresa and Melissa? And as I stated last week, it's because A, I don't think she really fucks with Melissa that much, and B, she don't want the motherfucking headache from Teresa. And I'm gonna stand on that. I think that's why Dolores hasn't gotten involved. Anyway, so then we get into like the whole question where Rachel Fuda asked about the Antonia situation, and Teresa calls it a setup and all this stuff, which surely shows that Teresa's like in social media, reading the Twitter feeds and whatever. And she's like, well, I've been here for 10 years. And I was like, girl, keep sniffing yourself. Keep sniffing yourself, right? So this is why the Gia and Antonia situation are different. Yes, Gia and Antonia are both children of castmates. Therefore, they are the kids. But Gia is a grown-ass woman who has been on television, on this show, being disrespectful and dismissive of Joe and Melissa. Antonia is a minor/child who has never said one bad word about her aunt or her uncle, right? So the fact that Joe and Melissa have something to say about Gia is because Gia made it something to be said. And you're not gonna come back and be like, oh, but they're kids. Gia ain't moving like no child. Gabriella's the child, right? The other kids are the child. She's grown ass, she has a lot of opinions, and she feels like she could go ahead and say them. Why? Because her mama lets her talk cast money shit about her uncle and her aunt and her house. And here's riddle me this, Teresa. Why are you not on camera telling your daughters not to be involved and not to let whatever happens between you and Joe affect their relationship with Joe and Melissa? What Melissa did, I have no problem with. Even if she did it on camera, she did it so that way it is out there in the public that she is telling her daughter, you still need to love your cousins, you still need to love your aunt and uncle. Why have you not gone on camera and done that? If you had done that, then you could have been like, my kids definitely don't do that because I told them on camera, just like you told yours on camera, or whatever. But Teresa can't do that because they will look at her and be like, bitch, what you talking about? You were just calling him A, B, C, and D back at the house, right? So that's why I don't see nothing wrong with what Melissa did, because she wanted it to go on record, even if she had already said to Antonia, don't be talking about your aunt, don't talk about your cousins. Family is still important. Let the grown folks handle it. And the fact is, Teresa don't do that with her children because she treats her children like they're quasi her friends. So I was just like, miss me with all of that. So anyway, then they said the whole Joe puts the food on the table comment, right? This again gets to the whole crux of Teresa and Melissa's problem. Joe made that comment. Joe, they played the podcast. Joe is one who said that. Melissa didn't say that. But Teresa attributes Joe's comment to Melissa, because in Teresa's mind, everything Joe does that is against her and against her family came from Melissa, instead of it attributing it to her brother and taking the beef to her brother. Because in real talk, Melissa and Teresa don't have to have a relationship. Melissa and Teresa don't ever have to talk ever again for them to be a happy family. They can show up to Thanksgiving, one sits here, one sits there, never talk, how you doing, girl? Nice shoes, boo boop, and move on. We all know how to move and coexist with people who we don't fuck with. So the fact is, they don't have to really be friends. The problem is Teresa is just still so butthurt and just doesn't like Melissa, and is not going to miss an opportunity to make Melissa feel bad and to antagonize her, right? Because Teresa could do a lot more things to Melissa than Melissa could do to Teresa, because Melissa and Teresa are just built differently, right? So again, Teresa's goes for pain and distance. Melissa's not really built that way. So anyway, and I believe Melissa when she said that Joe wasn't on the list, because this is one thing about Teresa that I noticed. She's one of those people, and a lot of you all are like this, so hit dogs are going to holler, When you're single, you're quasi-miserable, but as soon as you get a man, it's fuck your friends, fuck everybody else, I just want to be in this space or whatever. You don't know how to manage your relationships well, such that you can be in a healthy relationship, have that relationship be primary in your life, but still not be dismissive, disruptive, and disregarding of your other relationships. Teresa doesn't know how to do that. So she was miserable, quasi, whatever, till she met Louis. She meets Louis, and now it's his family so great, and my family is so hurtful, and whatever. And we're like, what was the switch? Like, what happened? You got a man, right? And we all got people or know people or are people like that who, as soon as they get somebody, they totally adopt everything about the person that they're dating, right? So I was just like, okay, girl, let's see how this works for you. Wish you happiness, wish you well, hope everything's gonna be okay, but you know, whatever. Anyway, so I was just like, Jennifer Aiden really, in the whole like Marge and the baseball player, I totally get it. That was just a friend, you know, a friendly banter. The fact that Jennifer Aiden still talks to this Laura chick is some snake in the grass shit, and that's really why I don't really fuck with her, right? Because why are you really talking to Laura if you're not trying to build up your own arsenal, right? If you're not trying to build up your own arsenal against Marge, why are you really fucking with this Laura chick like that? And Andy kind of squashed it, being like, no, Marge wanted her to be on the show. Marge did nothing to get her on the show. And now what Andy did not say is why she did not make the show, which will be interesting to understand why she actually did not make the show. But Andy was like, no, Marge tried to get her on the show, which was all of this. You can see that Jennifer Aiden and Teresa have just really been troving and delving into this Laura trove of like lies against Marge, and half of that shit isn't even true, right? Like, I'm not saying Marge is the best person. Her mouth really is lethal, and I was glad that she apologized to Danielle for the comments she made in Ireland, but Marge isn't really this big bad that people are making it out to be. The problem with Marge is that she has a tongue, she's smart, and she's not going to really fall over for this fugazi shit that Teresa, Jennifer Aiden, and Danielle, and by accomplice Dolores kind of all want to put out there, right? Like, you can really tell now you have the two factions, as you typically have. And I'm not saying I co-sign everything that Marge does, but Marge isn't as bad as folks be liking it. But people don't like Marge is because Marge is just going to tell you how it is, right? She does need to soften the tongue a little bit, but other than that, I mean, her antics last season were far more disturbing than what she did this season, right? So anyway, and then we get to the end of the episode where Teresa's grasping for straws, you know, because Marge says, I don't care about Laura. I care about the fact that your husband has private investigators, which deserves a full-ass explanation as to why he has private investigators with people. And secondly of all, the fact that Teresa, I do not believe Teresa believes that her brother or Melissa called the cops on them and got her sent to jail, right? Is it possible? In this world, anything is possible. Is it probable? Probably not. And again, what does it matter? If you were not involved in the criminality in the beginning with, there would be nothing for them to report. So again, it does not matter. You shouldn't have been doing a criminal activity in the beginning. So anyway, that's our first, that's part one. It really didn't really give us a whole lot, but just enough. I'm really excited for the next two seasons. I'm going to keep up with my story time, so go and watch my Real Housewives story time videos. I have a couple of more coming out. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to share. Hope you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.